Ever wondered if reporting a debt to a credit reporting agency could be a violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act or the Fdcpa? Well, you're not alone. This act, designed to wipe out abusive debt collection practices, has a pivotal question circling it. Can reporting a debt be seen as a communication under its regulations? Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Now, how about we delve into two intriguing case studies, Daly v. A&S Collection Associates and Akalwadi v. Risk Management Alternatives, to shed some light on this issue? Let's dive in. In the case of Daly v. A&S Collection Associates, Inc., we see this question come to life. Now, for a bit of context, this case was heard in the District Court of Oregon in the year 2010. The core issue was whether or not the reporting of a debt to a credit reporting agency constituted a violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or Fdcpa for short. Now, let's delve into the details. Daly, the plaintiff, had a debt that A&S Collection Associates, the defendant, reported to a credit reporting agency. Daly argued that this act was a violation of the Fdcpa, specifically stating that it was an abusive debt collection practice. The defendant, A&S Collection Associates, countered this by stating that the reporting of the debt was not a communication as defined by the Fdcpa. They held that it was merely an act of reporting, not a form of communication intended to induce payment from the debtor. The court, however, saw things differently. They found that the Fdcpa does not explicitly exclude the reporting of a debt to a credit reporting agency from its definition of communication. The court further explained that the purpose of the Fdcpa is to eliminate abusive debt collection practices, and if reporting a debt could potentially be abusive, then it should indeed be considered a communication under the Fdcpa. This interpretation hinged on the specific circumstances and the manner in which the debt was reported. The court suggested that if the intention behind reporting the debt was to induce payment through pressure or harassment, then it could indeed be considered an abusive practice and therefore a violation of the Fdcpa. The Daly v. A&S Collection Associates case is a prime example of how the interpretation of communication under the Fdcpa can extend beyond traditional means, potentially encompassing actions like the reporting of a debt to a credit agency. Now, let's look at a different case that further explores this issue. The case of Akalwadi v. Risk MGMT Alternatives, Inc. provides another perspective on this matter. This case, adjudicated in 2004, further underlines how the reporting of a debt to a credit reporting agency could be seen as a communication under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. In this case, Mr. Akalwadi, the plaintiff, alleged that Risk Management Alternatives, Inc., the defendant, reported his debt to a credit reporting agency without also noting that he disputed the debt. Mr. Akalwadi argued that this act violated the Fdcpa. The court agreed, stating that the act of reporting the debt, particularly without including the dispute, constituted a communication as per the Fdcpa. This ruling was significant because it underscored the importance of debt collectors adhering to fair practices, even in their interactions with credit reporting agencies. It also highlighted how the Fdcpa's definition of communication is broad enough to encompass not only direct interactions between debt collectors and consumers, but also indirect interactions such as reporting a debt to a credit reporting agency. The court's decision in the Akalwadi v. Risk MGMT Alternatives, Inc. case expanded the interpretation of what constitutes a communication under the Fdcpa. It also emphasized the fact that the reporting of a debt to a credit reporting agency, especially without noting any dispute, can indeed be seen as a violation of the Fdcpa. These cases demonstrate the complexity of the Fdcpa and its applications. So what have we learned from these cases? Well, we've delved deep into the labyrinth of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or the Fdcpa for short, and seen how it's designed to protect consumers from abusive debt collection practices. We explored the cases of Daly v. A&S Collection Associates, and Akalwadi v. Risk MGMT Alternatives, Inc., where the courts had to decide if reporting a debt to a credit reporting agency can be considered a communication under the Fdcpa. The verdict, it can be. But, and this is a big but, whether or not it's a violation of the Fdcpa isn't as clear-cut. It all hinges on the specifics of the situation and the manner in which the debt is reported. In essence, it's not just about the act of reporting a debt, it's about how and why it's reported. As always, the devil is in the details. The interpretation of the Fdcpa continues to evolve with each new case that comes to court. Follow Residual Joe.